Hey all, Todd here, and welcome back to another Wellness Talks brief. The concept that I'll be focusing on today is where you put your focus when it comes to the four main aspects or engagement areas of your life. I've utilized this model in past discussions in helping you to see how you can actually emulate or push your value into each one of these four areas. But what I also wanted to do was just to point out one of the areas that we get stuck when it comes to focusing on our engagement areas, these four engagement areas. So in case you have forgotten, the four engagement areas of life are the following. Love, which would be your relationships, close relationships, work, play, and health. Now, when I say love, I don't necessarily just mean that intimate romantic love that you might have with your partner. What I'm talking about are the really close personal relationships that add meaning and are incredibly important to you. You value them highly. The second area would be work. Now, work isn't just work. It can be work, but it can also just be your professional development. It can be your growth patterns. It can be academic and educational. And play. Play is recreation, re-energizing, arts and crafts, lying back, entertainment. And then finally, health. Health is not only the physical health, but mental health, spiritual health, emotional health, and that includes things like going to the gym, doing mindfulness meditation, eating correctly, drinking plenty, and having a regular sleeping pattern. The issue is that as we move through life, we tend to focus in each area with different emphasis at different times. A lot of times this is a necessity, so we have to be able to move things around. However, sometimes, especially when we're dealing with anxiety, we tend to start to hyper-focus on one of those four areas. So we may put all of our eggs, all of our focus up into work because we are anxious about not having enough money to make ends meet. And then eventually we have plenty of money to make ends meet. But we've been doing the behavior for so long that we actually have lost track of the other three areas: relationships, play, and health. And that begins to have a cost. That becomes detrimental. And so we push hard. And I'm sure you can think of people who are workaholics and they push super hard. And they are able to establish this ground base, this area where they are relatively stable, only to have it wiped out because they haven't focused on health. Or they become completely depressed because all of their relationships are gone. Or they just forgot what it's like to have fun. So a really simple concept to keep in the back of your mind is how to focus and how to keep a balance, a work, life, play, health balance, if you will. And that's simply to think about, you have 5 markers or 5 areas that you can focus on at one time. We're just going to go with 5. You could make it more, but I want to try to keep it as simple as possible. What a lot of people will do, as was just highlighted in the last example, is they'll put 3 or 4 of these points, these coins, if you will, into the work category. And maybe they'll put one more of these other markers into, let's say, relationship, or maybe they put it into health because they realize that if they don't put one in health, it's definitely going to affect their work. But then they're neglecting the friends and they're neglecting the play. Over time, that's going to cause some problems. Over time, given your personal values, they're not going to be met and you're going to begin to have emotional pain, not to mention physical side effects and symptoms. Now, other people will put 3 or 4 into the play area and they've only got 1 chip left to put in one of the other areas. And so perhaps they can't keep a job, or perhaps they can't keep good friends, or their health just goes downhill. So one of the obvious solutions is to go ahead and just put 1 in each one of those categories. But then I've had feedback from people I've worked with that said, but there are times when I need to put 3 into one area. And that's true, you do. Sometimes life throws something at you. So you've got maybe 1 in the relationship area, 1 in health, and then you have to put 3 into work, and so you neglect play. But like I said, if we develop an actual behavior, if we go like this for too long, that's going to cost us, especially emotionally, not having downtime, playtime, something that's, why are you working so hard? if you don't take the time to enjoy it, to sit back and reap the fruits of your labor. So one of the best ways then that I have found to get people to play around with this is put one coin into every single one of those boxes and hold one back. This would be something like a mindfulness practice. Be aware of that final chip, that final coin, that final area of focus, and you hold it back and you use it when you see that one of those 4 areas is starting to lose some of its power, or it needs more attention. Perhaps the work area needs more attention. There's a big project. That's where I'm going to put my extra focus. But I'm still going to be mindful of and pay attention to the other 3 chips or tokens. I'm going to do what I can to make sure that I maintain those. If I have to borrow, I have to keep it in the back of my head. I want to put that coin back. I want to put that token back as soon as possible. So, 1 coin engaged in every single area, 1 coin in reserve that you can actually put where you like, when you need it, as needed. And what people have found is that when they can keep this in mind, when they're aware, when they're mindful, and they can try to keep this balance by putting 1 token or 1 coin into each one of these 4 areas of emphasis, that all they need is that 1 extra bit, that 1 extra bit of focus, that 1 extra token to go into the area that requires it. And they can do it early, and they can get out in front of it. And therefore, they don't ever have to pull 2 or 3 or 4 to 1 category. You don't have to take my word for this. You can simply just give it a shot. Think about those 4 main areas: love, work, play, health. Make sure that you're doing something every single day for every single one of those categories. And then you have, remember, 1 focus point left that you can put into any one of those 4 areas that requires a little bit of extra attention. And see if it's possible to be aware, to be mindful of things coming down the pipe, that you can dedicate that extra moment, that extra focus early to stay out in front of it so that it never bubbles over. And like I said, even when it does bubble over, let's just say something happens with your health. You may need to borrow one of those focal points, one of those tokens from somewhere else. But you need to remember to come back and work hard to keep your love, work, play, health balance in check.